Welcome to the Learning and Development Channel, where you can learn, lead, and make a difference.
I look for a simplest meaning of what a university is all about. So in here, it says a university is a community of people. And in our context, these people may mean students, teachers, staff, and administrators. Okay. We also have academics. We mean, or in Europe, the context of academics are teachers. Then we also have part of that community are administrators, students. And these people come together to dedicate their time and effort to learn. And this meaning, debate and the discovery and dissemination of new knowledge. This is a meaning I got 50 years from a resource aged 50 years ago. It seems this is the simplest um, meaning. I'm sorry, pero sa mga nagkiklik, hindi ko po kayo makikita ngayon. Mamayang konti na lang siguro. So this is one of the simplest meaning of what a university is all about. Dahil kung makikita po ninyo, hindi kasama dito kung ano yung mga problema na kinakaharap ng university. This only simplifies what are the compositions of a university. So that's it. Ngayon, gusto kong malaman from you kung ano ba talaga ang role ng university sa ating pamayanan, sa ating society. So what is the role of the university in the society? So with this, I would like to request you to input in the what do we call this in call messages as to what is your opinion as to the role of the university. Para ano ba talaga siya dapat? Sige nga, antayin natin ang inyong mga sagot. Para sa ano ang university o ano ang kanyang papel na ginagampanan para sa pamayanan natin? Given that the previous meaning said that there has to be students, administrators, and academics. So ano ba talaga ang role ng ating university? Si Sir Perry, according to him, is produce professionals. Yeah, so it's on the production to the society, train future leaders. Wait lang po. Okay? So, thank you sa mga sagot ninyo. Provide education, rounded individuals. Okay? Okay. Universities are responsible for imparting. Okay. Don't you know that what you are mentioning in your answers are indeed true? The university is expected to develop responsible, accountable citizenry that would provide great service to the country. And products of the university are also being expected to give back to the community, and then also educate the next generation. However, we cannot deny the fact that nowadays there is a little or a big shift as to the role of the university, especially as to the activities that the university has been engaging. If 50 years ago, the university is giving emphasis as to molding a holistic and an industry prepared individual, nowadays there are already challenges as to how the university is um, reacting to the needs of the time. Okay, so currently the university is giving more emphasis onto research. It has been the talk of the town to do research. People in the university, especially those in the academics, are required to do research to show creativity and innovativeness. So, more or less, there is a turnaround about, should I say, 180 degrees as to the role of the university before and now. Okay, so thank you very much for your answers. No, this is really a very engaging topic since all of us have experienced university life. We have good and bad experiences when we are in the university. Okay, um, hopefully, based on your experience, the university where you studied from have provided you with what you are expected them to deliver for you. Okay? Okay. So, thank you for your responses. And now, according to Steele and Rickards, here are some of the major role of the university. Of course, above all, the university has to deliver learning and teaching. So teaching on the part of the academics to deliver the content, to develop the skills and attitude of the students towards something like their area of specialization. And learning on the part of the students. Currently, a university is being evaluated based on the kind of researches that they are doing. And we cannot deny the fact about it because maybe all of you know have experienced about conducting action research when you are studying with your master's degree or even in your baccalaureate degree. Thesis is a requirement before finishing a degree. Nowadays, research um, becomes a talk of the town when you are in the university in such a way that for every course that a university student is having, there's a need to do research. May it be a small scale research, may it be an action research, may it be a research divided from among 5 members to complete it, or may it be an individual or a collaborative research, as long as it is research. In short, research or doing research became part of students' university life. But when it comes to research impact on the lives of teachers, it's another story. Because nowadays, teachers are being evaluated not maybe in the um, teaching component of their function, but as to the quantity and the quality of research that they are doing. And also, the university has to play a role as a delivering institution of external leadership. So we have to show to the community that experts um, on the field usually came from the university. Although some of you might counter or might oppose with that statement because it does not necessarily hold true that when you came from the university you are really excellent, more especially if it comes with skill development. No, okay. Then the university has also to maintain quality on its internal operations. Okay, how the university have built their how do we call that, image to the public, so their internal operations. Here are some of the purposes of the university. So there has to be relations of science to science and their mutual bearing and their respective values. The second one is more or less um, statement that maybe will divide the public. So a university has to cultivate the intellect. Okay. Although there are people um, who believed that in the university it has to be balanced, not only the cultivation and development of intellect, but it has, or the skills and the proper attitude should also be cultivated. And then a properly trained and formed intellect which grasps what it perceives through the senses. So we really need to be a human being using our senses so that we can perceive the truth and we can deliver it right. By the way, may nagtataas ng kamay? Is there someone raising his or her hand?
Wala
Because
po, Doc.
I cannot see you. Okay. Maybe may pumapasok, no? Kasi may tumutunog.
At po, Doc, meron po si Ma'am Catherine Credo po.
Ma'am Kat, would you like to say something?
Sorry po, Doc. Napindot lang po, Doc.
Okay. It's noted. To continue, this has been our belief, no? When we ask about what a university should be, we always answer that the university should act as agents of change. But let us ask, change of what? Do we have something to change? To what? To where? And how? So, kumbaga, the responsibility of the university is very broad and very heavy to deliver to the public or to the community. However, based on the Philippine context and the Philippine culture, we are giving more respect to the universities to deliver and to really become agents of change. Maybe change from when students get inside the university, they are not able to do the skills, they are not having the right kind of thinking and the right way of doing things, but when they go out they are ready to face the world and be competitive um, in getting into the industries. Okay? So, university as agents of change ay pwedeng mag-vary ang paningin natin as to change towards what? Will this be applicable to change to students' life? Or will this be applicable to the academics' life? Or will this be a change that we mean the university is how do we call that, crafting the community around it or the community that they are serving towards a better life. So napakalaki ng expectation natin, no, sa isang university po. Now, going back sa inyong mga experiences, like for example, in the university that you enrolled in since baccalaureate, do you think anong klaseng change ang gustong iparamdam ng mga university na ito sa community kung saan sila naroroon? Usually kasi, bago magparamdam ang university in the international context or even in the national context, there has to be something where the local community can feel that the local university is relevant, that the services being rendered by the university is meaningful, and it is the university who leads the change, no, in the community. So you might be thinking of examples as to how the university has been acting as agents of change. Mamaya, pag-uusapan natin kung kailan na nagiging agents of change ang isang university. Then, here, we linked now the university into democracy. O, alam na natin kung ano ang democracy. Okay. Usually, kapag ipapa-define tayo, what is, o kailan kaya magiging democratic? Okay. Ano ang madalas na binibigay nating meaning? So, it should be a government by the people to the people. Okay? So, it is usually the majority who ruled, maybe, and there has to be consensus from the majority. So in here, we relate democracy and higher education as very inextricably linked. In short, universities not only have the ability to be key arbiters of how democracy is advanced, but they also need to reflect democratic values in their practices, objectives, and goals. In short, the relationship between democratic practices and values are linked as to how the university will be able to advance these values and these practices. In short, ang ugat ng democracy daw ay nasa higher education. But there's an article that says na kung gaano ka-democratic ang higher education in a university, ay ganun din ka-democratic ang community sa paligid ng university. So, they are presenting proofs about it. But in here, we present here that there is a link or there is a strong relationship between democracy and the function of higher education, especially when it comes to the values being taught in the university, their practices, their objectives, and their goals. Okay, can you still recall the objectives and goals of the university where you enrolled before? Or kahit ngayon, naalala nyo ba kung ano ang goals and objectives ng PNU? Bakit ko tinatanong? Because through that objectives and goals, or should we say their mission, vision, we can more or less masisilip natin kung ang university ba ay nagba-value ng democracy. May boses ba ang kanilang mga estudyante? May boses ba ang kanilang mga guro? O baka ang may boses lang ay ang nakakataas? Nasisilip natin ito kasi doon sa kanilang objectives and goals. And more especially into their practices. Okay. Pwede bang mag-usap ng kahit mga sensitibong bagay, kahit saan lang nakaupo sa bahagi ng university? If yes, then there is very good practice of democratic values inside the university. Okay. Next, we are now leaning towards the discussion about Jiwoo's article. We now lead to the discussion about the difference between democratic education and corporate education. Because this is more or less the meat, the main focus of the article. So in democratic education, democracy is the main values or the main focus. We practiced democracy in every activities or practices inside the university. So laging pinakikinggan ang mas nakararami. So that's democratic education. At dahil pinakikinggan ang nakararami, ang focus nitong mga public intellectuals ay yung para sa kagandahan o ikagaganda ng buhay ng mga ng common na tao, nung para sa nakararami din. Okay? And so their values are not geared towards income, are not geared towards popularity, but geared towards the development of the common people. On the other side, although minsan parang hindi natin nakikita ang kung gaano kakaiba ang corporate education. Pero dito sa kabilang banda, dahil tinawag nga siya na corporate education dahil it was being governed by and authorized by the state, no, and they are being considered as one entity. They are also being recognized by a law because they will serve their purpose. In here, we are not saying or we are not referring corporation to corporation universities. But the relation later on in the discussion, we will see that we mean corporate education here, the relation of private corporations and their influences to the kind of education, especially in higher education. So in management or in administration, in democratic education, the faculty members have voices. However, in corporate education, nanliliit ang kanilang boses. Okay, because there are certain group of people na sila lang ang nagkakaroon ng boses. We are, or I am trying to simplify the difference of these two concepts. In corporate education, there are corporate intellectuals. Sila po itong mga nasa mataas na level ng corporation. So dahil sila ang nandoon, sila ang may say. Sila ang nasa decision making panel kumbaga ng isang corporation. So sila ang magpapalakad ng corporation and any institution that will attach to that corporation. And ang kanilang focus is not on the development of values but as to the brand. Paano ba tinitingnan ang kanilang image based sa brand na kanilang ipinapakita sa public? Okay. So in the article, we will try to explore as to features maybe of or how corporatization evolved. At later on, alamin natin kung paano through specific examples. So earlier on, we mentioned about democracy. So democracy, we are practicing the art of critical thinking. Okay, that's fine. Alam natin yan. And then in democracy or in democratic education, we are participating in spirited debate. In short, pwede tayong makipagtalo. Pwede tayong magsabi ng katwiran natin. And then, we also exercised and engaged thoughtfulness. Ang mga pagtatalo sa demokrasya ay hindi pagtatalo na walang patutunguhan. Okay? And then, in democracy, we also learned to hold authority accountable. So, sino ang accountable sa mga ideyang ganito? Sino ang may pasimuno ng mga ideyang ganito? So, in short, the participation and the art of critical discussion came from the majority. So, ang tao ay may karapatan na magsalita, mag-isip, makipagtalo, and come up with the majority's decision. So, nakakatuwa that you have the voice kumbaga, the voice na pakinggan ng ibang tao. So that's democracy. We also have mentioned the public intellectuals. With them, education designed to improve public life. That's basically the main objective of these public intellectuals. Ang kanilang concern ay dun sa pag-improve ng buhay ng nakararami. Okay. Kung gagawa man sila ng research, ang kanilang research ay nakafocus sa kung paano mapapaganda ang buhay ng mas nakararami. So their researches are geared towards the development of the public good. And they also do public service, and they are not expecting a monetary or remuneration in return of their public service, because according to them, their value is dependent on how they serve and how they affect the life of the majority or life of the public. Then, they also engaged in critical thought. Kaya nga, sinasabi natin ng paulit-ulit, sila yung nagdi-discuss. Okay. Siguro may naalala kayong philosopher, no, kung pinag-uusapan yung discussion, yung mga maiinit na mga discussion, alam ko may mga naaalala kayo tungkol doon. Okay? So here, because a part of the discussion, NGO's article also considered some part of American university, although nagpasimula ito sa European context. However, some of the examples later on will also give focus to the American universities also. So here, democratic education, meaning the American university remains the one public space available to real alternative intellectual practices. Ayon kay Sid, dapat doon talaga mangyayari yung mga intellectual practices na yan sa university. Dahil sa kanyang pananaliksik, dapat there has to be no other institution like the university wherein intellectual practices are existing. Meaning, dapat dun sa university lang nangyayari yung mga discussion ng sabi ng isang article nung mga ano nga ang term? Parang may term sila na yung kung sa Filipino yung mga may sasabihin. Okay. Ay doon ginagawa dapat sa university. Okay. So in higher education, this is still in the American context. Although pwede nating dalhin in the Philippine context. In democratic education, the university or the higher education should be the space of critical dialogue, analysis, and interpretation. Totoo din kaya ito sa konteksto natin sa Pilipinas? Lahat kayo ay naka-experience na no nung kung paano na nag-aaral sa university. Were you given the chance to engage and to participate in critical dialogues? You might not answer it now, but it is a point to ponder whether nasaan ang Philippine higher education when it comes to the context that we are discussing right now. Sa university ba natin sa Pilipinas ay nakafocus din or nabibigyan din ba ng chance ang students to engage in critical dialogue? Nabibigyan sa mga activities natin in the classroom maybe or it could be extracurricular, nabibigyan din ba tayo ng pagkakataon na mag-analyze? Maybe you will tell me, Ma'am, when we do research, we do a lot of analysis and interpretation. Yeah, that is true. However, sa ganyang practice natin, when it comes to research, you are just talking to the material that you are writing, but it will become part of democratic education when you bring the analysis, the interpretation, the sharing to other people. Kumbaga, there has to be time to share in proper forum. then we could say that we were given the chance and the opportunity to do these practices. On the other hand, in corporate education, they are being defined as a space of consumption, where ideas are validated in instrumental terms and valued for their success in attracting and or attracting corporate and government funding. So, yun ang difference. So nakikita natin ang difference ng democratic education kaysa sa corporate education. Okay. In corporate education kasi, they are giving emphasis on excuse me for a while. Okay. Um, okay. So, again, so again, the focus of corporate education is or the success in corporate education is being emphasized as to how a person can have corporate or government funding. In short, dito nasusukat ang success ng corporate education. Okay. But according to these three philosophers, a university should serve as a bastion of democratic learning and values that provides a crucial referent in exploring the more specific question as to what form should be taken by the relationship between corporations and higher education. Okay. So, ano bang klaseng relationship dapat magkakaroon ang university or ang higher education at itong mga corporations na ito? So, ang sinusulong ay kinakailangan na mag mag magbigay, no, ng democratic learning including values. Okay. And in corporate universities, on the other hand, academics are being viewed as business entrepreneur. Paano kaya nangyayari ito na nagiging business entrepreneur ang academics? Okay. Because in corporate universities, the academics became attentive to principles of finance, like management and marketing. They often developed already the brand identity. What kind of reputation as an academician do we have? Okay. And they are also giving emphasis as to publications of their researches, their presentations. And in here, when academics be viewed as business entrepreneur, and they are considered entrepreneur of new knowledge, actually. Okay. However, the main focus of academicians in corporate universities is the development of their brand name. So then, therefore, the university, because of that context, the university became a new marketplace of commerce. So they are interrelated because of the emphasis to create and understand what brand name are we going to show to the public. And then the university now became the new marketplace. However, there is a belief that once a university is being emptied out with democracy, then the university is also being stripped away with the power of discussion. Meaning, pag mawawala yung democracy dun sa university, in short, mawawala na rin yung henerasyon or the generation of individuals na magsusulong nito. Because privatized intellectuals are more or less engaged in research, but these kind of researches are not serving the purpose for the common public as the public intellectuals did. Ang privatized intellectuals are more focused on the development of researches para doon sa corporate state nila. So in short, ayun ang kanilang focus. So higher education appears to be increasingly decoupling itself from its historic legacy. So historic legacy may mean that there has to be a crucial public sphere na responsable doon sa pag-educate ng mga estudyante para sa workplace. At that would train students to engage in critical discourse, interpretation, imagination, and be given an experience that would deepen and expand the kind of democracy that a certain university should have. Okay. So then, corporate universities give focus on market values, and not only market values, but also their own identity. They are also geared towards social relations. But this kind of social relations has to produce something in return that would benefit the university or the corporation, I mean. Okay. In corporate universities, the corporations would view higher education as a mere training center for future business employees. So later on, being in the or the university will become a training center of employees of a certain corporation, or even the university will become the feeder of the employees of a certain corporation. That's why corporations would also view universities or higher education as a franchise for generating profits. So they will utilize every component, every features of the university for them to generate profits, even using faculty members or academics with a very purpose of generating profits. And they are not focusing on as to the benefit of the academics maybe, or even the students. These corporations consider higher education as fourth or third, as a space in which corporate culture and education will see each other because they will merge in order to produce literate consumers. So, ayun ang paningin ng corporate education or ng corporate universities sa kung ano dapat ang kalidad ng higher education. It will not merely stay as the place for critical discussion, but it will, according to them, they believe that HE or higher ed are training centers to generate profits, and it will become a space where their consumers are. Okay? Excuse me po, hindi ko po kayo nakikita
Sir
lahat, pero
Romeo,
paki-mute po ng
Sir
microphone niyo
Romeo,
po.
paki-mute po ng ano ng mic niyo, Sir
Sir JP,
Romeo.
paki-mute po ng microphone if pwede. Thank you. Okay.
Doc, nag-raise po ng hand si Sir Romeo Hipolito.
I'm sorry, sandali. Hindi ko po kasi nakikita kayong lahat. Sino po yung nag-raise ng hand?
Si Sir Romeo po Hipolito. Napindot lang po ba yun,
Okay.
sir?
Ay, yes,
Sige,
sorry
sir.
po. Sorry po, ma'am. Sir, napindot ko lang po. Sorry po.
Okay, okay. So may I go back now to the presentation? Okay. So again now for sa mga na-discuss na natin, iba-iba ang paningin ng higher ng democratic ed at nung corporate education dun sa higher education. So higher education actually has a deeper responsibility not only to search for the truth. Kahit saan man tayo dadalhin ng truth na ito, hindi lang dito nagtatapos ang responsibilidad ng higher education. Higher education has also the responsibility to educate students to become morally accountable. At hindi lang morally accountable, they are supposed to be socially and politically accountable. They are, or the higher education is also expected to expand academic freedom. Academic freedom. Ito ang laging sigaw natin nung nag-aaral tayo, no? Academic freedom, na gusto nating i-exercise. Kasi ito ay nagpapalago ng ating pagkatao when being practiced fully. And nasa tama naman na konteksto ang pag-practice ng academic freedom. And also, the university or the higher education should also become a space for democratic inquiry, values, and politics. So yun po. And then later on, itong university, itong higher education ay nagiging protector and promoter of democratic values. Let us see if at the end or towards the end or even in the current situation of our university, especially in the Philippine context, being a protector and promoter of democratic values kaya ay nanatiling ganito pa din hanggang sa kasalukuyan. So, titingnan natin kung nanatili ngang ganyan. To sum up with the discussion about corporate universities, si Oman ay nagbigay ng kanyang ganitong meaning. And I placed it under quotation because I quoted the meaning that he gave. So, tingnan natin, giving more emphasis on texts in red. According sa kay M. Oman, the corporate university acts like a profit-making business, So simple lang naman ipaliwanag, no? A profit-making business. In short, they exist not for the sake of the common good, but for the sake of profit, because it's a business. So it's a profit-making business rather than a public or a philanthropic trust. And then universities applying productivity and performance measures. Ano ang success indicator ng pagiging nasa university when you are a teacher? When can we say that I am a successful educator in the higher education? Because when that question be answered in the corporate university context, it has to be based on performance. And later on, we will discuss ano itong mga performance measure kung nasa corporate university ka. Okay. And then, they also have a competition with one another for resources. Yeah. So, ano yun? It's a fact. Ganun talaga that especially when resources are scarce, when there is scarcity, competition is even to its highest, sabi nga ng mga economists. And corporate universities are also into cutting faculty costs. Later, we will discuss as to how did they cut faculty costs at kung paano na minaliit no ang value nung academicians or ng mga faculty na nandoon sa higher education. So though dito sa meaning na mention na nire-replace ang full-time with part-timers and temporary faculty members just to save and given much work to do, even they are considered as part-timers. Then another feature is subcontracting. They are subcontracting even from food services until the management of physical plants, meaning may subcontract. Okay. And then, another one, in the eyes of being a corporate university, actually nakikita natin itong computerized instruction as a very good practice. However, ipinaglalaban na ang pagpalit ng teacher in the classroom with computerized instruction ay bahagi ng feature ng pagiging corporate university. Tingnan natin later on in the discussion as to paano na ang computerized instruction like delivering our instruction online ay nagiging bahagi ng pagiging or nagiging feature ng pagiging corporate university. So tingnan natin 'yon. Okay. So, in corporate university, academics are expected to be academic entrepreneur. Sa paanong paraan na ang expectation natin sa academicians are magiging entrepreneur sila. It's because there is a twist as to the focus of these academicians. These academicians are supposed to be responsible to mold and to develop and to prepare their students, according to you earlier, to the workplace, to the industry, prepare the students to the world of work. However, in corporate university, turning academicians to entrepreneurs by allowing the academicians to focus on strategies to get grants o prestige. So that became the focus now of the academicians. Paano sila kumuha ng grants para magkaroon sila ng pera and funds? Okay. Or they are popularizing the term privatize or perish. Okay. I know you can relate on this phrase, no? Or so this is a move towards privatization, or else the existence of a certain institution will slowly perish. So, tingnan natin later kung papaanong paraan na nakatutulong ang pag-privatize para lumago at para maiwasan na hindi umunlad. Okay. And then, everyone in the university is transformed into a customer or a client. And ang tinitingnan lang lagi sa ganito, everything is for sale. And it was even mentioned that knowledge became a commodity and for sale. Later, we will discuss about it a little when we reach a certain subtopic at the end part. Okay? So, if you can still remember, we have people, participant to be considered a university. In corporate university, they are now being considered as customer and as a client. Okay? So kung paanong paraan na nagiging customer at nagiging client sila, then titingnan natin later kung paano na nagiging ganito na ang direction sa corporate university. So again, in corporate universities, academics or academicians are considered as academic entrepreneurs. So ano ang kanilang ibinebenta? The knowledge, in exchange of grants and in exchange of the prestige that they wanted to have. Then it's either they will move towards privatization, or the institution will just slowly perish or slowly die down. And everything is for sale because everybody is a customer or a client. But the most vulnerable part are our students. However, even faculty members can also become a victim and will also be a client. Okay. Now, how or paano nangyari that the university became a licensed storefront? So titingnan natin, ano-ano ba ang mga nangyayari ngayon sa university? Kung bakit nasabi natin na nagiging, kumbaga ano na siya, lisensyadong kasi honored naman siya ng state. Pero ang kanyang focus ay para sa ibang bagay kaysa sa education. So we cannot deny that education is changing very fast. So, higher education is changing, and it is being defined through the language of corporate culture. And because of this, many universities became less interested in higher learning than in becoming licensed storefronts, especially for the brand that they are having. How did they do that? They are selling off space, they are converting buildings, or in the Philippine context, nakikita ninyo ang itaas, eskwelahan, ang ibaba ay isang or ino-occupy ng isang malaking retail store. Okay. I know, alam nyo kung ano ang sinasabi ko. And sa mga hindi sa hindi gaanong open, I hope aware kayo doon sa mga pagbigay ng nung position doon sa may mga corporation, especially if they are giving something to the university. Okay? So that's how the landscape of higher education is also changing. Okay. If you can notice, even the cafeteria or should we say, the canteen is being managed by private institutions already. And so, even the university bookstores, okay? So, meaning, hindi na university mismo ang nagbibigay ng mga ganoong services, but instead, they are being served by private institutions or corporations. Okay. According to the article, nakikita natin, ang dami ng McDonald's sa loob mismo ng eskwelahan, and other popular brands, no, nandoon na sa loob ng eskwelahan. If we are more or less a traditional teacher, we might ask ourselves, anong ginagawa ng mga ito dito? Okay. So, in short, kung nakikita natin yan dito sa Philippines, we are not exempted either. Okay? May nakikilala ba kayong university na ang kanilang ano nga ang tawag dito? Dormitory are being or dormitories are being managed with private institutions? If yes, isa 'yon sa mga practice, no, na that the university is gearing also towards corporatization. Okay. Before, universities have vast and wide spaces, places for study that is very quiet. And student gatherings are usually being held inside the university because there are plenty of spaces for those student gatherings. Pero ano nangyayari sa kasalukuyan? Okay? Binibenta ang mga spaces, no, for a price, meaning hindi yun mura. To also maybe to source out funds for the university. And then, based on the article, Yates, or in this study, na-mention, or it was mentioned that the appearance of corporate logos in an online learning materials or courses cost for $10,000 per course. So I think nakikita natin yung mga tawag nito, portals na ginagamit kasi sa online courses. Usually there are ads present on those courses. We know that. Pagbukas natin, mas nauna pa ang ads kaysa very purpose natin ng pagbukas ng site. And I hope we are aware, no, that these ads or the owners of these ads earned a lot. And according to this study, $10,000 per course. And imagine how many courses meron dun sa university na yon. So ganun po kumikita ang university from the corporate tie. Sa mga tie-up nila doon sa mga corporation. Then there is also marriage of commercial and educational values. Ano naman itong marriage of commercial and educational values? And here, the difference between being a student and a consumer is mas hindi klaro. Blurred ang difference nung pagiging student doon sa university kaysa sa kanyang pagiging consumer. So, ang presence ng student should be given an educational values when inside the university. However, we cannot deny the fact na meron ding commercial value ang presence ni student because sabi nga natin kanina, ang mga students ay nagiging consumers. Okay. So, ganyan. And sinasabi na ang freedom para dito sa ganitong konteksto, ang freedom daw is refers to the freedom to purchase. In short, kinakailangang may price, kinakailangang may mabili dahil kinakailangang may income. Okay. And also, customer satisfaction is offered as a surrogate for learning, meaning that to be a citizen, you should be also a consumer. So, ganon ang initial na explanation kung paano na ang university ay nagiging storefront. Then, after that, the university's capacity now to provide venues for the testing of new ideas and the agendas for public action diminished. This is according to Zemsky. Maybe in the course of our discussion earlier on, we can already imply that when democracy will not be given an avenue or a place to grow, then in short, mas lalaki ang chance that it will be phased out. Na mawawala siya. It will slowly become inactive practice. Okay. Then, na-mention natin that the academicians became an academic entrepreneur. Okay. So, naging totoo po 'yon. And we cannot deny the fact that sometimes university personnel are also being employed by private corporations. Or, sad to say, leaders of an institution or the university are also often hired from the ranks of the corporation. So hindi din tayo ligtas dito. Especially in private institutions, in private higher education, academic leaders are usually all are usually coming from the private corporations also. So nilalagay sila doon sa higher education. And these leaders are being expected to get external funding and also to impose business models in the university, like leadership and accountability also. So that is why, according to Aronowitz, leaders of higher education wear the badge of corporate servants. So nangyayari ito dahil meron ding mga meron ding mga nakatataas doon sa higher education na nagsiserve din doon sa mga corporation or doon talaga sila nanggagaling. Or some of them might be shareholders of private corporations. So the kind of services that they are wearing, that they are giving to the higher education institutions are more or less divided with the position that they are having in the higher education and from the corporation that they came from. Okay. And then, commodification of ideas and the accumulation of profits are also being mentioned. Okay, paano kaya nangyayari ito? When is it or when will it happen that the ideas are being commodified? Okay, and the very main purpose of this is to accumulate profits. Okay, later we will discuss how anong nangyayari na or paano nangyayari that ang mga ideas ay pwedeng makapagkikitaan, no? Dahil nagiging commodified um, um, factor ang ideas. Okay. So, andito tayo sa third na subtopic, corporatizing higher education. Okay. In early part of 2000, because I mentioned already earlier, no, that the context of this article is also American. So we can mention Bush as the president then. Because according to this article, the administration then in early part of 2000, there's really willingness and strong support towards corporatization of higher education. There are overt practices that is supporting this move. And there are even reinforcing conditions that would also support corporatization to become possible. How? Okay, let's mention some. Higher education then became a privilege rather than a right. So those who can afford to pay for their tuition and their higher education fees ay pwedeng pumasok sa higher education. So paanong paraan na ganitong nangyayari? There are reductions in grants for students. And because grants for students like Pell Grants are being reduced, this truth became a pressure to the students to get entry or to enter a job training education. In short, they will enroll at the same time work or work while they are enrolled. Okay. And so, maliban na nakakat ang mga grants for tertiary education, ang mga other aids for students were also being cut off. So, in short, because of this, many of students who are supposed to be taking their education in the university ay para na lang sa mga privileged one kaysa sa na ang education o ang higher education is a right of everyone. Okay. The report of Chronicle of Higher Education said that, so by the way, this Chronicle of Higher Education, this is being considered as one of the leading resource of news for jobs information, for college students, for university faculty members. So Chronicle of Higher Education reported that young people from poor and disadvantaged families faced even more difficult hurdles in trying to attain a college education because of what I have mentioned, that Pell Grants are being cut. In short, the Pell Grants, by the way, is the nation's largest federal grant granted to help students in their tertiary education. So that's it. And maliban na nakat ang Pell Grants, there is still a change of the formula as to how they are going to compute to qualify for other grants. So in short, mas liliit ang tsansa na makakakuha ka ng isang grant. Okay. So in short, naging totoo na ang higher education became a privilege rather than a right. At mas na-enhance pa ito dahil doon sa pagtigil ng mga aids at mga tulong para sa higher education. Okay. So, the project in student debt ay nagsasabi na 4 sa 5 estudyante ng higher education ay nangungutang para makapag-aral ng tertiary education or doon sa university. And their studies will will continue because of loans. So meaning may mga may mga student loans provided by private institutions. In short, hindi pa nakatapos ang mga estudyante, nagsisimula na silang mangutang para dun sa kanilang higher education. O di ba? Nakaka-relate naman na tayo nito dito sa Pilipinas. Kaso sa ating case, instead na estudyante ang nangungutang, mga magulang ang nangungutang para sa education ng mga student natin. However, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito ay kung paano naiugnay ang corporatization doon sa quality of life ng mga students natin doon sa university. And because of this student debt na naging common doon sa Amerika, ang mga students ay instead na kumuha ng mga kurso that would benefit the majority, ay iniiwasan nila ito. They do not like to become lawyers for public, but instead they wanted to practice in private dahil mas malaki ang kita doon. So hanggang sa ang panahon na kakaunti ang mag-render ng service para sa public ay nangyayari. Okay. Bakit naging ganito? Kasi kinakailangan nilang magbayad ng kanilang utang. So, ganon ang relationship ng utang sa course choices at sa kanilang pag-render ng kanilang public service. Okay. So, in short, dahil dito, there are just plenty of young people, most especially those who are in the margins of poverty, and those families are having low-paying jobs, hindi sila nakaka-afford ng tertiary education. That is why nagiging malaki ang gap ng middle level families papunta doon sa lower level families. So, kung tutuusin, nakaka-relate tayo dito sa ganitong sitwasyon ng student debt and family difference between middle class family and mas mababa pang level ng family. Okay. And then they are also being labeled. There is also a new label between the relationship of corporations or of a corporate culture to the higher education. So, Hanley, or the author, labeled this as a quickened symbiosis. In short, there is a mutual benefit and mutual relationship between higher education and corporations. Okay. So, paano itong nangyayari? There is subordination of higher education to capital. In short, more especially if the higher education institutions ay medyo nanghihina, then wala po silang choice. Remember, earlier we mentioned privatize or perish. So then, therefore, the higher education, there's a need now to kumbaga magpailalim no doon sa mga corporations. Okay. And then we can also mention that before, the quality of researches that are being produced are being protected with the intellectuals. Pinoprotect talaga yan dati ng university. But with this quickened symbiosis, the corporations now has greater effect as to the quality results of researches. So isa itong example ng commodification of knowledge, no? That na-influence ng corporations ang quality of knowledge. Mas nakokontrol nila ang timing ng pagpapalabas ng mga researches, ng mga innovations, ng mga inventions that would benefit them more fully. So, like for example, Greenberg as an author, according sa kanya, mas makakatipid ang university if there will be no students in the classroom anymore. So how are we going to do that? Nawala ng students in the classroom, like what we are doing right now. We are conducting synchronous sessions. We are communicating. I can deliver my part, and you are there listening. So meaning my symbiotic relationship tayo. However, mas tipid kasi even though both parties can communicate, but there are expenses that are being cut with this kind of preparations. So like, hindi tayo nagbabayad ng malaking kuryente kung nasa school tayo, nagbabayad tayo. Hindi tayo namasahe, hindi tayo pumunta sa eskwelahan. So ganyan. Isa yan sa mga examples ng quickened symbiosis. Another one is in the tenure system. There are outsourcing, downsizing, and privatization, and there is an increased casual labor. So in short, dahil dito, according kay Greenberg, nawawala ang accountability. Okay, bakit ganito? Okay. Hindi ba't kung ikaw ay nagtuturo ng part-time and you are being paid per hour, ano ang pinaka-main focus of your service for the day? That is only to deliver your class for the day. Ayaw mo nang makihalubilo pa doon sa iba pang activities nung institution dahil you are not being paid out of that participation. So in short, okay, please turn off your microphone, please. Okay. And then there is also control over hiring. Okay. Ang mga corporations, especially if they have a strong relationship with the higher education, they can also influence the higher education when it comes to hiring, when it comes to tenure. Why in tenure? Because mas nakakatipid kapag ka nagbabayad ka ng casual at ng part-time faculty members. Totoo naman yun. Okay. However, can you ask more from a part-time faculty member? Siyempre, hindi, di ba? Okay. And even in promotions, mas masaklap, no, kapag ka ang promotions ay naaapektuhan ng mga mga corporations. Okay. And it is also a sad truth that sometimes curricular matters were also being influenced by corporations and even their own production of knowledge. Okay, so like for example, the New England, um,
Doc, excuse po, maingay po kasi yung kay Doc, kay Ma'am Jessie po. Naka-open po yung mic niya. Hindi po naman maintindihan po yung dinidiscuss po ninyo.
yes
Ma'am
po,
Jessie,
excuse me po, to everyone, please check if your microphone is muted. Dahil nakakaistorbo tayo doon sa mga nakikinig. Thank you. Although hindi ko makikita sa screen ko kung sino-sino sila. Okay, thank you po. Okay, so let's continue. Daddy, no. Okay. So, the last bullet on this slide, New England Journal of Medicine. Iyon ang nakasaad dyan. Kasi, okay. Bakit na-mention yan dyan? Kasi, there are research results na nakokontrol ng corporations. More especially if they are the funding institution. So, nakokontrol nila kung ano yung dapat ilalabas. Kapag ang findings ng isang research ay hindi magbe-benefit sa kanilang corporation, hindi ilalabas. Kontrolado nila kung kailan ilalabas ang research findings. Naging ano na tayo nito, naka-experience tayo nito nung nag-experience tayo ng pandemic, di ba? Okay. Although hindi natin mapruweba kasi wala ngang mga lumalabas na sinadya ang pandemya, parang mga ganyan no, na mga issue. However, in the issue of the relationship between corporations and higher education, may mga ganyan po na mga pangyayari. That so there's a danger when a corporation is sponsoring a certain research being conducted in the higher education. Why? Because the higher education cannot maintain the quality of the research because of the big influence that a corporation has to the higher education. So they are saying that the results of the research should be pro-industry results. So ano mangyayari ngayon kung sa simulat sa poll ay ganyan ang ini-expect na pro-industry results? What if the result is indeed on the contrary? O iba pala ang result, pero dahil ayaw ng sponsoring agency, iba ang lalabas. Okay? Or there is even suppression of publication because of question as to the effectiveness of the intervention sponsored by a private corporations. Okay? So in short, there is really a strong relationship between corporations and higher education. Okay. Now, we are on the second to the last part, outsourcing academic labor as part also of a feature of a corporate university. Here, we mention diminished faculty governance because in democratic education, the faculty or the academicians or the academics, may voice po sila na pwedeng pakinggan. Sila din ang nakaka-resolve ng kanilang mga problema, pinag-uusapan. However, here, nawawala na ang power ng faculty doon sa, hindi na sila pinakikinggan in short, parang ganoon. So, um, kung dati ang mga faculty ay may kakayahang mag-nominate, no, ng kanilang leaders, may kakayahan silang mag-nominate kung sino ang gusto nilang maging president. Here, in corporate universities, nawawala na po ito. Dahil sino ang nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon na maglagay ng leader dun sa higher ed? Etong mga private corporations. Malaki ang kanilang influence doon. So, not only in the hiring and tenure, pero doon din sa kakayahang makagawa ng boses ng mga taong nasa posisyon. Okay. So, ganyan po. So, hinahandpick, pinipili ng mga corporations ang kung sino ang magli-lead doon sa subordinate higher education. And then, doon sa part na ang faculty members ay nagiging part-time instead na na full-time and permanent members of the community. In relation to doon sa nawawalan sila ng boses. Kasi kapag ka permanent faculty members ka or permanent academics ka, syempre, hindi ka natatakot magsalita kasi ayaw o alam mo na hindi ka mawawalan ng trabaho. However, when you are being hired on a part-time basis, you can be kicked out when there is a command from the higher ups. So in short, nag-i-instill siya ng fear na mawalan ka ng trabaho. So that is how faculty power is being limited through corporate universities. And then, etong pag-implement naman ng distance education. So sinasabi na ang distance education is a blessing, sabi nga natin no dati kasi we can continue the education for the students even though may kahirapan especially nung time ng pandemic. However, in corporate universities, etong pag-implement ng distance education na ito ay nagkakaroon din ng profits in distance education. Okay. Sa paano nangyari? Kasi in distance education, there are a lot of savings according to this article. Paano kaya nangyari ito? Siyempre, ang mga learning materials can be reused. So pwedeng gamitin muli ang mga materials. And then with the help of the technology ay mas madaling mag-deliver nito with lesser expenses. So mas marami ang i-invest sa distance education. Then we can also mention the digital humanism. Ano naman itong digital humanism? Ito yung pagbawas ng value ng isang tao in exchange of the technological presence. Meaning, nakikita kasi ito ng mga corporate universities na mas lesser ang expenses, mas malaki ang kikitain. However, there are also researchers suggesting that instead of converting physical classrooms to virtual classrooms, producing materials such as real-time video, blogs, and providing gaming environments and other digital technologies ay pwedeng mag-save ng geographical space. Meaning, na hindi kinakailangang magkikita ang mga tao ng face-to-face. At dahil nalilesen natin ang space na mas nakatitipid. So iyon ang essence ng tinatawag natin na digital humanism. Hindi pa nagtapos doon. Dito sa part na ito, kinakailangang mabuksan na naman ang isip natin that universities are the ones courting the corporations. Kasi yung mga corporations na to, mga mayayaman ng mga ito. They have funds na kailangan ng higher education. So that is why nabubuo ang mga collaborations between higher ed and corporations. Pero has this been very helpful to the higher education of the country? Maybe hindi. Okay. So papanong paraan itong mga collaboration of corporations? So ang corporation pwedeng mag-sponsor ng isang academic degree programs at sila din ang magha-hire ng graduates ng ganoong higher ed after students could finish their degree. Okay. However, the university cannot exercise fully academic freedom. Why? Because even curricular content of that certain sponsored degree programs are being governed by private corporations. So wala nang masabi as long as mag-graduate yung mga students doon, okay na 'yon. Okay. So ganoon. So there are giant corporations na nag-sponsor ng mga degree programs like for example IBM for example, they wanted to hire this much but they will also sponsor the education of these students, okay, with the condition that the curriculum will follow the curriculum being provided by IBM. Okay, so that's it. There is also an issue about the copyright of materials used in an online courses. So when corporations sponsored content of degree programs being delivered online, now who owns the content now of that online programs? Will it be the corporations who sponsored it? Or will it be the university who developed the online course? Okay. So ganun po kalaki ang impluwensya ng corporation sa university. Then another one is like for example, a university might offer shared professorship. Pag sinabi nating shared professorships, ito ay kind of scholarship that a certain academicians will deliver to the university. Very specific to the specialization of that academician. So a corporation might offer or might sponsor shared professorship provided that the content, the context, and the activities of that professorship will come from the sponsoring corporations. So parang oo, may ano ka, shared professorship, pero wala ka namang bosses. So parang ganon po. Then another form is corporate donors. Okay. So usually, kahit dito sa Philippines, no, madaming corporations na nagbibigay sa university. Maybe at the beginning, there has been a clear statement as to how each party would benefit. But some of those are so tricky. At the beginning, the corporation might not ask for something in return. However, at the long run, slowly they will get returns out of the donation. Okay, so that's it. And then another one is the influence of the corporations in the decision of the university. So like for example, in 2006, a giant company of BMW and IBM sponsored a certain university to produce or to become an automotive research center. So sila ang nag-sponsor doon sa mga university na yon. And then after which, sila din ang magha-hire nung graduate ng mga university na ito. Sila din ang mag-i-interview ng mga students na gusto nilang ipasok doon sa degree program. So in short, the corporation is influencing the higher education now as to the curricular offering, even to the admission standards, and even to the quality of the teaching, dahil mas gusto nila yung actual at lesser yung discussion sa pag-deliver po ng kanilang program. So in short, because of this, there is a growing symbiosis or relationship between higher education and the corporate world. And we cannot deny that fact anymore because of the proofs and evidences that we have discussed earlier. Okay. But not only in curricular offerings, but also they can appoint certain positions to the higher education. Okay. So these are some of the features or how the symbiosis between higher education and corporations existed. Ngayon, sa konteksto natin sa Pilipinas, may mga ganito ba tayong na-observe na nangyayari na sa kasalukuyan? Maybe ours is more political, like politicians might influence the hiring of teachers and the like, but not basically private corporations. However, we cannot deny the fact that some of these features of corporate universities are also very existent in the Philippines. So, ano ngayon ang stand natin as educators? What we wanted to continue? Do we want to go back to democratizing our education, or do we want to develop more and geared towards a more consumer-oriented higher education? The article of Jiwoo wanted to challenge or wanted to resist the corporatization of universities. So that is why we wanted that our universities might find its way to a more humane future later on. We need to defend the higher education as a democratic public sphere, and it should be framed according to the scholars' public interest to do research, and that the product and outcome of those research will be for the common good of the common people. So in short, we need to resist. We need to resist. This is already my personal opinion because I am using the we here, because if corporate universities would continue to exist, then students that will enter higher education would really deal the price of higher education. So ano ang ating dapat kampihan dito? Mag-continue ba itong mga corporate universities and their existence, ang influence nila to the higher education, or we wanted to go back to the times when the faculty members and the students in the university are being heard at nabibigyan sila ng pagkakataon para magsalita, mag-manage ng may voice sila, mag-manage ng university at ang kanilang product ay para sa common good at hindi para sa income ng malalaking mga corporations. Through this, there is really a need, and it is urgent, to reclaim now the democratic values, the democratic identities, and the democratic practices of a higher education or of a university. With this, thank you very much for listening.
Like and subscribe to the L&D channel on YouTube using the link youtube.com/@learntolead channel.